bada boom, bada bing.
Milo TV.
Milo TV, Milo TV, Milo TV, bada boom.
Milo TV, by the bing, by the boom, by the bam.
Yeah.
It's here too.
Okay.
Milo TV, by the bing, by the boom, by the bim. That's it.
Milo TV, varabim, varabum, varabim. Yeah.
Milo TV GH Toronto, Canada. Body bin, body boom, body bim. Ear.
Milo TV, bada boom, bada bim, bada bim.
Yeah.
Milo TV, bada boom, bada bam, bada zoom.
Yeah.
Milo TV, bada bim, bada bam, bada bam.
Yeah.
Bada zoom, zoom, zoom.
Milo TV, bada boom. Wait, hold on, go again. Milo TV, bada bim, bada boom, bada bam.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, click that notification bell, and guys, Milo TV is where it's at, so don't forget. I don't know.
Milo TV GH Toronto, Canada. Body bin, body boom, body bim. Ear.
Alright people, this is Toronto, Canada Milo TV, and we had a breaking news that 4 people are dead, and what actually transpired is what we're going over to broadcast for you to know what went on. What we heard was that a Tesla was involved in an accident, and out of 5 people, only 1 person survived. So let's go over to the to our cameras to find out what really transpired.
Good morning. Close to the mic, sir. Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'm here to share your information about a very heartbreaking incident that took place early this morning where 4 lives were lost. Our sympathy goes out to all of those who were directly affected, family, friends, and anyone close who's been affected by this incident. While the investigation is ongoing, I can confirm that this morning at approximately 12:13 a.m., a Tesla vehicle was traveling eastbound on Lakeshore Boulevard just by Cherry Street, going at a high rate of speed. The vehicle lost control, struck a guardrail, and then struck a concrete pillar. Upon impact, the vehicle then caught fire. There were 5 occupants in the vehicle. Sadly, 4 occupants have been pronounced deceased at the scene. One of the occupants, the 5th, a female in her 20s, was transported to the hospital in non-life-threatening injuries. This is a single motor vehicle incident, and the investigation is ongoing. In attendance at the scene, we had Toronto Fire, Toronto paramedics, and investigators from Toronto Police Traffic Services. We had a number of investigators, including our collision reconstruction unit on the scene, collecting evidence and speaking to witnesses. We are asking anyone who may have been in the area by Lakeshore Boulevard in Cherry Street, who may have witnessed the incident or has dash cam footage to contact the police, Toronto Police Traffic Services at 416-808-1900. I will now turn things over to Deputy Fire Chief Jim Jessup.
Good morning and thank you. Similar to the Toronto Police Service, on behalf of all the women and men of the Toronto Fire Service, we want to extend our deepest condolences and sympathies to those impacted. And we want to thank our first responder peers with the Toronto Police Service and Toronto Paramedic Services for their assistance this morning. As the Toronto Police have noted, when the call came in, upon arrival, our first-in crews reported a significant fire. Our crews worked to quickly extinguish the fire, and then once the fire was extinguished, our crews noted a number of persons inside the vehicle. Under the direction of the coroner's office and the Toronto Police Service, Toronto firefighters carefully extricated the bodies, and they are now in the care of the Office of the Chief Coroner. Toronto Fire Service Investigations Division will be assisting the Toronto Police Service with the investigation into the origin, cause, and circumstances of the role the fire played in this collision. And again, on behalf of our service, our deepest condolences to all those impacted. Thank you.
Take some questions.
Can you talk about, maybe this is for Deputy Chief Telsla. Obviously, we're learning that it's a Tesla and an electric vehicle. We've heard a lot about this lithium ion batteries. Is there any way to know if the gas-powered car
journalists to ask questions.
based on the impact?
So I think the investigation is still ongoing. So those are questions that obviously the Toronto Police Service and our fire investigations will look at. Certainly, the intensity of the fire is directly linked to the battery cells in the Tesla. But I want to be very clear. We have all attended collisions where we've had horrible car fires as well that are gasoline powered. So I don't want to suggest or comment until the investigation is complete. I will say we had to take extra care this morning in reopening the lakeshore with the assistance of the Toronto Police and removing and transporting one of the battery packs that was ejected during the collision. We worked with Transportation Services, Solid Waste and Parks and Recreation to arrange for a dumpster to arrive where the Toronto Fire Service placed the ejected cell into the dumpster, covered it with sand, and we have escorted that dumpster up to a yard to make sure that it is safely disposed of. So certainly one of the concerns that we do have with these types of issues is thermal runaway and the fact that these can reignite for up to weeks and weeks later. So don't want to speculate on the intensity of the fire until the investigation is complete, but certainly it did cause extra care and concern in transporting both the vehicle and the battery cell that had been ejected.
Tell us about the survivor crash. I understand a bystander was involved in executing her.
We're back, Grandma!
How was it travelling all alone?
I had some help.
Yes, at the time of the collision, a motorist that was passing by stopped and provided assistance and was able to extricate one of the females. She's been since transported to the hospital in non-life-threatening condition.
Have you had the chance to speak to her about what happened?
Our investigators are still interviewing witnesses and trying to speak to her as well. So it's still very early in the investigation, but our investigators from traffic services, yes, we'll speak to her.
How do you know that the vehicle was traveling at a high speed?
At this point, it's still early in the investigation, but we have gathered some evidence so far to suggest that speed was a factor.
Like surveillance?
Sorry?
Is there any sort of video to work with, security video from anything?
There is some video footage that's being looked at, but again, it's very early in the investigation, but there is some evidence to suggest that speed was a factor in this collision as well.
And what can you tell us about the 4 people who sadly passed away?
Just keep looking at the cameras, sir. Look at the cameras.
Are there ages, genders, and do you know where they were coming from?
I can tell you this much, 3 males and 2 females, and they're all in their 30s and 20s.
Can you speak to, are there any other sort of factors that you're looking at? I know there's a lot of construction in that area, probably hard to navigate that road with something else.
Okay. Much with any investigation, we work with their city partners to look at all the factors that could be involved, including road surface, environmental factors, to determine what factors are exactly involved in or what may have led to the collision.
Can you tell us a bit more about that bystander?
One person assisted. We believe there were other bystanders, but we're still interviewing witnesses to gather a bit more information.
The bystander okay, or is there that all, was the car on fire already when they executed the woman? Or
From what
level of danger did the bystander encounter?
They certainly stepped up, and I can say this much. I believe the fire had started when the bystander provided assistance. So again, thanks very much to that bystander. We have been speaking to them, and obviously they also deeply affected by this incident. It's a very horrific scene for that bystander to step in, but again, we send our thanks to that bystander for providing assistance in this collision.
Male or female?
At this point, I believe it's a male.
My question to the Deputy Chief, you were speaking about these fires, and they seem like they're a little more tricky to fight when it comes to these batteries. Are you seeing more and more of these? I know there's one earlier this week with an e-bike. Are you seeing more of these given how prevalent they are? And can you just talk to elaborate a little more on the difficulty of fighting these fires?
No, thank you. So this is something the Toronto Fire Service, again, with the numerous city partners, have been working on over the last number of candidly months. We've had a number of fires, most recently on I believe it was Lawrence Avenue East with the e-bikes. We've had a number of factory fires where, candidly, we have watched these battery cells thermal run away and reignite weeks later after we've removed them and laid them in the yard. So this is evolving technology. This is something that is certainly going to be an evolving risk that Toronto Fire Service has been very proactive on in preparing for in the future, knowing that this technology is coming. We've established a working group well over a year ago on everything from public education messaging to tactics for our firefighters, as well as how do we safely transport and remove these types of this type of technology after scenes like this or after fires where we are becoming more and more common. So it's something that is on our radar. It's something that we've been proactive about. It's something that we're going to have to deal with and continue to deal with as this technology expands, and it's something that we're going to continue to work on.
Are you calling for regulation change at all? For example, I know the TTC is now banning them in certain months. Is that something I know probably you advocated for, but is it something that you want to see a little more widespread?
Yeah, so just to be clear, we haven't advocated for anything on the TTC. Certainly when we're asked questions, we will provide our professional opinion. They're regulated, it's under federal regulation, so it's something that we have not spoken to the federal government about. We've not spoken to the provincial government. As I said, we do have a number of our senior staff that have a working group. I actually sit on the North American working group. This is not just a Toronto problem. New York City has been plagued by these types of fires, and they've actually taken some very proactive steps. So we are working with industry experts. We are working across North America with our peers to make sure that we can safely protect the citizens and that we can safely protect first responders when we continue to respond to these calls.
Sorry, that's one more question. The difference between fighting a fire with an electric vehicle and fighting one in a gas-powered vehicle, it does seem like there's more work and more people.
There certainly is. The amount, as an example, the volume of water required to safely extinguish an electrical vehicle fire is exponentially greater than a typical car fire with gasoline. So again, this is something we are well aware of. This is a North American issue, and we have been proactive. We've been taking steps. We're probably the lead in Canada right now on our protocols, and this is an evolving technology, and we will continue to do our research, work across with our jurisdictional peers across North America to make sure that we have the best practices in the City of Toronto.
Chief, is there any evidence to suggest that EVs are more likely to burst into flames upon impact versus gas-powered cars?
I don't have any information that would suggest that.
Just one other, sorry, you go.
I just want to ask do you believe, and I don't know if you've done this yet, but do you believe it was the impact of the crash or the fire that led to the loss of life?
We can't say for sure what caused the incident at this point or what caused the death. It is still very early in the investigation, but along with our traffic services collision reconstruction unit, along with the coroner, they will determine exactly what was the cause of death.
Can you just express, this must have been a really horrific scene for the first responders to come out to. How are they doing it? And can you just the horrific scene?
Yeah, for the first responders, Toronto Police, our friends in Toronto Fire, the medics as well, are always deeply affected by these scenes. It's not an easy scene. We do have a job to do, but they're certainly deeply affected. We do have a number of resources in place to look after our members, much like Toronto Fire and Toronto paramedics as well. But we also want to reach out to all those who help, the bystanders, families, victims. Certainly, in matters like these, everyone needs some assistance. It's a very tragic situation.
Are all victims from Toronto?
I can't say at this point where the victims are from.
So is the driver of the vehicle with the owner of the vehicle, or is anyone in the...
I don't have that information.
Last question. Do you know if the group was what they were doing? Were they heading somewhere, coming from somewhere? Like where were they going in? Could alcohol or drugs also be a factor?
It's hard to say at this point what exactly all the factors are, but I can't say where they were coming from or where they were going.
Good job. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
TV Toronto, Canada. Subscribe if today is your first time. Like my videos, comment, and then share. Bada bim, bada boom, bada bam.